Alright, Bunny here again. This video today, really want to touch on oh fuck, almost forgot. And okay. Alright, what up everyone again? Bunny here with a new video. Wanted to talk about a lot of the hype today, especially for things like the R9, the R3, the R7s, all those little new bikes that are coming out. Especially it seems like Yamaha's kind of taking the lead with this, even though in my opinion these bikes kind of really suck. So today I kind of really want to dive into the whole what is going on with that kind of manufacturing choice, right? It seems like all the manufacturers are kind of abandoning their flagship bikes and they're purposely focusing on these very tiny entry model, very slow, small cc, twin parallel kind of engines and stuff. And they're backtracking out of the leader bike sector and the inline fours and stuff like that. And I, for the life of me, couldn't possibly imagine what is going through their mind when looking at the drawing board and going, you know, okay, this little 3-cylinder R9 is definitely going to be awesome compared to the R6 that we had, which was probably the most purchased R6 ever. Like, there was no contest when the R6 was in production. That's all anyone ever wanted. So it's just baffling to me how they go from producing something as iconic and revolutionary and reliable and solid as the R6, and they in turn start coming out with things like an R7 or an R9 and just give up production of the R6. Now with talks about giving up the R1 even potentially, which if you ask me is just going to be a death sentence for them. So it seems to me like they're obsessed with this reinventing the wheel method, where for some reason, instead of doing stuff that has been tried and true and works great for them, they're trying to not only reinvent the wheel, but replace it. You know, they're taking out factors in their sales and their bike lineup that have been proven extremely successful. And it's like, oh, we're gonna make an R9 with a 3-cylinder engine and, you know, this chassis update, whatever, which we all know it's just a fairings decked out MT09. And they're trying to make it sound like they just invented a motorcycle for the first time, and it's not. It's literally just a revamped MT09, maybe with a little different gearing, some frame tweaks and fairings, and that's really it. You know, the purists out there are going to be like, oh, it's an electronic package, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's whatever, dude. At its root core, it is just a dressed up MT09. And this philosophy where they're just basically making the same bike but naked versus not doesn't make any sense for those that have gotten to riding for the thrill of it. Because if you ask me, those bikes are not exciting and they're very underpowered. You know, one of the main drawbacks of these bikes is that they're gutless. They are so gutless. They have like the power of a hooked up lawnmower at a redneck race. Like, they are not fast bikes. They're not even that torquey. Like, sure, their low power is more manageable, but at the end of the day, they're slow. They're really slow. And I think personally that like slow bikes are actually pretty dangerous. When you have a bike that's really slow and you're, I don't know, in a tight position somewhere in traffic and somebody's pulling into you or cutting you off, you don't have the power to just get away from them or power out of the situation, or your wheel gets loose and you maybe need to power out to straighten out. You really don't have that power with those bikes. And, you know, people will say going slower, safer. And I mean, in ultimate totality, yes, it is. But at the same time, having power at your disposal is also a huge safety factor. And for motorcycles, relying on the gyro effect and stability of having enough power to move the bike in the way it should, that's a huge drawback in my opinion. Going into part 2 of this video, if all these manufacturers would just bring back their flagship bikes or stop trying to discontinue those lines, they wouldn't have the issues that they're having. Like, allegedly, you know, KTM is about to go under. I mean, let's face it, their lineup just sucked in general, but that's because they refuse to listen to customer demand. Yamaha's looking in bad shape, apparently. They're starting to get really bad numbers because they're not making what they used to. A lot of the manufacturers right now are basically kind of dwindling. They're all in hot water. They're not making the money that they should be. And that's going from their numbers because of the bike sales that they had from those iconic bikes like the R6 and such on. And when they give that up because they got their own plan, that doesn't make sense as a company, because you're supposed to do what the customers want. And they're suffering for it, but for some reason they're doubling down on it. And I can't for the life of me imagine why. I mean, at the end of the day, they're there to make money. They're a company. They want to profit. They want to be able to grow and make more money, but they're shooting themselves in the foot with this, I know better than you, the customer, and I'm not going to listen to your demands, when it depends on us being the ones to buy it. So I don't know what board meeting is going on where they're like, you know what, it makes better just to ignore all the stuff that we have and data that shows that people want this, and we're just going to do what we want anyway. But that seems to be what's happening. If they really wanted to advance and forward with development and things like that, I mean, even a bike like this one, this was a 2013 R1. It was one of the generations that they started putting all of the traction control and sport mode and all that stuff. The year after it, the 2014, is when they introduced ABS to the R1. There are more than enough modifications to do and updates and all kinds of electronics packages and stuff like that that they could add and, you know, make it an option, or keep going, oh, our next model is going to have this freaking electronics package or this update, to be releasing a new bike. And that would be far more beneficial than trying to do a piece of crap R9 or hawking the R7 to people as if it was going to be some viable replacement for the R6. Like, I don't see the justification once again in trying to reinvent the wheel. There are so much technology advancements that we're incorporating into vehicles today, cars, bikes alike, that if we really, you know, wanted it, like, there would be more than enough options to deck these things out and keep pushing new models, not to mention just ergonomic designs, engine updates, all that stuff. There's always something they can do. So I know that it's not because they're running out of ideas for that stuff. Like, look at Apple. You know, they just rebrand the same phone, but here they are with a new horde of people buying the same thing every year. There's more changes that get done to these bikes in that time span than that, and people are thirsty for it. They want that. So it's like, at the very least, they could just at least give you the option for those packages when releasing new models. Like, you got the R1 and the R1M, or the Aprilia RSV4 and the RSV4 factory, which has the updated electronic suspension and all the extras and stuff that come with that factory badge. You know, even making submodels of these bikes has proven to be very effective. People went crazy for it, and it's something that works. You would think that they would follow that feedback and run with it, because people love it. Even with the insane inflation today and the expensive cost of a new bike, people are still buying those things faster than they could make them. I think a lot of it, though, you know, a lot of you guys are going to rebuttal that it's the regulations, the EPA regulations, the European regulations, Euro 5 regulations, I think, that were killed R1 in Europe. You know, these are the regulations that are opposed and they have to lower it. And it's like, these are motorcycles. Yes, they are high performance, but they use a fraction of the fossil fuel footprint and carbon footprint that cars are putting out and stuff like that. And that excuse just doesn't fly. I mean, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I think what it really is they're getting pressure because these bikes can just dust cops. Like, that's what I think it really comes down to. You know, there's cars out there that are capable of insane speeds, and they cost so much money to get that, even a competitive, slightly competitive speed of a motorcycle. And the EPA and the regulatory agencies keep putting pressure on all these people to basically kill these fast vehicles. And I hate it, obviously. Like, I think that's bullcrap. Like, you know, part of the bike culture is a culture of rebellion. It is a culture of freedom, being able to, you know, outlaw culture, as they would say. But it just kind of disgusts me how there's this death of the actual lifestyle because of the loss of a lot of these bikes. And a regulation push needs to stop. When it comes down to it, it's a suggestion. These people can manufacture what they want. They could fight these things way harder than they are, because it really doesn't seem like they're even trying to fight them. And if the regulatory agencies got enough pushback, I'm pretty confident they would overturn a lot of these decisions very rapidly. All right, the third major point that I wanted to make in this little rant is that there's no need to kill the giants so that they can replace it with these doopy, slow, overpriced little toys. Don't get me wrong, these new bikes, they have a great purpose for people that are too short because of their size, which is a whole nother topic of conversation, why they just don't make more powerful sport bikes, but that's a time for another topic. And then it's for people that are starting out that really need a comfortably easy to control bike to get their, you know, first miles on, which is totally cool. Like, the common sense would dictate we could sell even more bikes if we have our originals and our tried and true, trusted, perfect, refined, huge following bikes, and then also release the doopy little beginner bikes. People would love that. You know, giving people the option is always better than forcing their hand. It's crazy to me that they don't think to themselves, oh man, maybe we would sell more bikes if there was just more options. Like, what? And it sets them up. You would think they would have the concept of, well, when they get tired of the R3, they're going to want an R6. And when they get tired of the R6, they're going to want an R1. It's very like, what? That's step one, step two, step three. You would think people would just move into that mindset and just capitalize on it from a marketing standpoint. But instead, they chose to kill it and replace it with this trash. And it's loony. It's loony to me. When they, at the end of the day, all they need to do is just go, let's take the good stuff and then also add the beginner stuff. Add the little slow bikes for those people that are just starting out, which I love that. I think it's a great thing that there is something for people to start on that is much more manageable and tame and safer for their inexperienced skill set. That is awesome. That should have happened decades ago, frankly. But obviously bike popularity has grown a lot since then. But it would have been a great thing. And a lot of people probably would have benefited from that, accident-wise, learning curves, all that stuff. But we're here now, and we have the option, so why not do it? Okay, I ranted a lot. I complained, I griped, I moaned, but tell me your opinions. Why do you think they're doing this? What do you want to see? What are manufacturers smoking? Like, by all means, hop in the comments, start a discussion. Curious about your thoughts, your perspectives on this. What the heck's going on with the replacement of these little bikes, you know, being the big question. So, closing this out, the next video is going to be kind of a retouch of this topic, but mostly about the reality of these little small bikes, these R3s and these CBR 400s and stuff like that. It's going to touch on basically kind of what you can realistically expect in these entry-level bikes and models now. So stay tuned. As always, go subscribe if you liked it, you want to see more. Bunny out.